Hey guys, welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. Whether you're listening on audio or video, we welcome you with open arms. And on a very special day today, something crazy happened today, and we want to sit down and talk to you about it, and you listen in, and we also care about what you have to say. So communicate to us in one way or another, because this is awesome. Like, this is big news. This is something that we did not see coming at all. I didn't
Nope.
even see a report on this. Look, I've been tapped out of the Star Wars news world, but I did not see a rumor report about this. I didn't see anything about this. We did hear we got teased about Tales of the Jedi months before it came out. I think like in around March in 2022 that year. Because Kevin Kiner, I think, had teased it, saying he was working on something special. This just Tales of the Empire, which we're talking about today, if you haven't guessed it already. I mean, it just dropped out of nowhere. So I really want to talk to you guys about it, talk about our reaction to it, and just break some stuff down. And helping me to do all that is not Ari today. He's working trying to get that shiny coin for his overseas travel. But joining me, the Clone Wars expert, Parks. You know him as Artur. Parks, welcome on to the podcast once again. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I was telling you before this, I am getting a little sick, which is frustrating because I was sick about 2 weeks ago. I never completely got over it, but that's okay because probably the best medicine of today was this trailer.
Yes.
Um, Completely out of the blue. I think another, like you were mentioning Tales of the Jedi and where that came from, like originally. I think another tease that was happening, there was some like weird um, I think like Christmas gift to like Lucasfilm employees like the winter before they announced that show. And it had like the logos for all the shows on like this crew jacket or whatever. And Tales of the Jedi was on there. And people were
You're
like,
right.
well, what the heck is that?
You're right.
And no one knew exactly what it was. But then once the Kiners commented on it, it was like, okay, so this is probably something animation wise. And we knew Tales of the Jedi season 2 was coming,
Yes.
but we didn't know this was coming. Like it
No.
kind of crazy.
Now, is Tales of the Jedi season two? Because we learned about that last year's celebration. Was
Right.
that Dave Filoni said he was working on Tales of the Jedi season two at the moment? Now, is that was was he just being cheeky? Was he trying to like keep this close to his chest? And this is supposed to be the Tales of the Jedi season two, or is Jedi Tales of the Jedi season two its own thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think my first reaction was, "Oh, this is Tales of the this was what they meant by Tales of the Jedi season 2. That's what this
Right,
is."
right.
And at the end of the trailer they released today, the Jedi logo burns away to Empire in
Mm-hmm.
the same way, the Clone Wars logo burned away to Bad Batch when that show came out in a very
Mm-hmm.
cool, memorable way. Um, And now that I think on it, like, of course, why not have a second season of Tales of the Jedi? You can have more stories about more Jedi while you have stories of the Empire. But there's a character in this trailer that was a Jedi herself and is maybe, by certain definitions, still a Jedi, a fallen Jedi. And I guess time will ultimately tell in the grand scheme of things. But um, I think of from this announcement, I haven't seen probably a single person disappointed by the prospect that there aren't more, like, if this is Tales of the Jedi season 2, that's okay because this is really really cool.
Right, right, right. No one, yeah, I didn't see any disappointment today, which is
Mm-mm.
crazy. Because usually, like as we just saw with Acolyte, there was so much upheaval in the Star Wars community, to put it lightly.
Discourse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much discourse. So this was great, though. This was, I woke up and immediately on my Instagram feed, I saw this, and I'm like, wait, Thrawn's coming to Bad Batch? I'm like, what? And I was like,
Right.
why did they post
I was
this?
seeing people talk about Thrawn and I'm like, what's going on? Did I miss something?
So I thought he was coming to Bad Batch because I hear him and I hear Lars Mikkelsen, who I'm gonna meet in less than a month. Um, and I saw the Thrawn image. I mean, just the character, and I'm like, he's wearing green. Okay, I see Star Destroyers. I'm like, wait, Star Destroyers, and then I hear Morgan Elsbeth, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, you know, we got 4 episodes of Bad Batch left. They better not be pulling this stuff. I'm very focused on the other story, on the Clone Rebellion right now.
Pulling a
Why are they
book of
showing
Boba
this?
Fett in your Bad
Yeah,
Batch, if you will. Yeah.
you know, that literally. And so then I, you know, obviously I checked out the caption. And I was like, wait, Tales of the Empire, and I exited Instagram. I'm like, nope, I don't want to watch it here. Same thing I did last time when I was at work. I was at school and I saw that the new Bad Batch trailer had come out, and I was like, I am not watching it in this classroom on my phone. So I waited till I got home and I put it on the big screen, full stereo volume, and it was great, you know. And so I want to give this that same treatment because I'm like, Tales of the Empire, this sounds serious. So threw it on and I was just amazed. I wish I recorded my reaction. It was genuinely
Oh
just
yeah.
the most genuine reaction because you and I come from the same cloth. Like we're cut from the
Yeah.
same cloth. Like you and I grew up watching the Clone Wars and we were obsessed with it and all that. And just to see it still living in a way, you know, obviously not the way that we experience, you know, Clone Wars every Friday night, but this is just so you could just tell it's just the same type of blood, you know, it's the same blood,
Absolutely.
it's the same spirit, and I just love seeing the Clone Wars animation. And Thrawn got that treatment. The Grand Inquisitor, my Quizzy over here, he got the same treatment. So I'm just like, wow, this is just grand. So that was
Yeah.
my like reaction to it. What was yours? Like, how did you find out about it?
Yeah. So I mean, when I woke up today, I was like, today's so folks out there listening, don't put off your taxes like I have. Taxes are due in like 10 days, and I'm started doing them today, but it's so complicated because of all my YouTube stuff. So it's a struggle. But yeah, I was kind of just staring into the void of TurboTax for a couple hours this morning, and I think yeah, at some point I opened Twitter, and the first thing I saw was a tweet from our friend SWE Austin, who does the Way Seekers podcast, um, talking about how they were expecting a Bad Batch like teaser, but in fact saw a new series about Thrawn, Grievous, Morgan Elsbeth, Barriss Offee, and the Grand Inquisitor. And I was like, I think I read like half of the tweet, and then I was like, okay, whatever this is, I'm just gonna scroll down. It's probably my feed, and there it was. It was like the very next thing was the trailer. And so I
Uh-huh.
just watched it right away. Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy to see. We're seeing so many things blend. Like it really is just a product of all the stuff we've been getting lately in a really cool way. It's always great to see things from animation make the jump to live action, but we're seeing a lot of like the inverse here with stuff like Morgan Elsbeth and the planet from the Mandalorian that she's introduced with. Um, yeah, and I had some very audible like reactions, which is rare for me. I'm a very hard person to like get like truly shocked or like get a big reaction out of me when I'm watching something, even if it's like a big hype trailer. Because I Mike, I know you're like a Batman fan. You probably remember the days of Batman v Superman,
Oh
and
yeah.
how hype the trailers for that movie were, and then the movie was like, I don't know how you feel about the movie now, but when it came out, I was like, oh man, this is
Yeah,
not good.
it
Big
was awful.
disappointment. Since then,
Very
I
big.
can't get excited about a trailer, but I was extremely excited by this. Especially just I think the part that really got me was like seeing Barriss Offee with the Grand Inquisitor, and
Yes.
my brain very quickly went to the Clone Wars and the sort of unconfirmed but possibly soon to be confirmed story that she was the one that sort of disillusioned him with the Jedi when she, spoke before that like military
Oh,
tribunal.
that's
Um,
right.
because he
That's
used to be a
right.
temple guard, presumably.
Yes.
So and then Darth Vader's in the mix too, and he fought Barriss. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they've cooked. Maybe
They
we'll see,
cooked.
but it looks really cool.
You're so right about that. I forgot. I
Yeah.
mean, when the Grand Inquisitor appeared in the Rebel Season 2 trailer, in the mid-season trailer, I remember being like, "Wait, I only know one guy that walks like that," and his voice was all um like muffled, but you can tell out it was Jason Isaacs. And I remember
Hmm.
being on my Instagram page being like, "Oh my God, it's the Grand Inquisitor," and everybody was poo pooing me and being like, "That's not true. That's not him. How could it be him? It's dead." I'm like, "I don't know. I just know that's him."
Yeah.
And he reveals that he was a temple guard and whatnot, and one of the things Dave Filoni said was exactly what you just said, saying he was disillusioned, but he became disillusioned with the Jedi because of what happened to Beresofi and what she spoke up about and all that. And I think that would be great if they carried that on, because that is super cool. And I mean, it's in the books, it's on StarWars.com, so hopefully they carry that on, and just maybe like even just a nod to it, maybe the Grand Inquisitor takes special interest in her because of that, or so very, very interested in that. I totally forgot about that thread there, so thank you for bringing that up. So let's jump into it. The first scene, we already kind of teased at it, but Thrawn is there and is with Morgan Elsbeth and saying like, why do you want to help the Empire? Why do you want to join the Empire? I forget what the specific verbiage is. And Morgan Elsbeth opens up about what happened to her planet, and I'm like, oh yeah, what happened to her planet? I forgot that she's from Dathomir. So then they show you the images, because the first time I watched it, right, I was in complete shock still by the title. And I didn't even make out that Grievous, what we were seeing of Grievous, was from the massacre on Dathomir.
Right.
So I was so confused. I'm like, wait, Grievous is in here? Oh, that's cool. This feels like a comic moment for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this feels great. Okay, cool. Then when I watched the trailer again, I'm like, oh wait, I think this is supposed to be Dathomir. And I'm like, wow, this is
from
actually
Massacre, cool. The episode where all the witches are slaughtered,
massacred.
Massacred, yeah.
So yeah, like I was just like, bro, this is so cool. And I mean, what a year for Clone Wars fans. Like, we're eating this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, Ventress just came back and Bad Batch, and now we got Barriss Offee coming back, and they both ended off on the set. And oh, look who's calling me. Here's a cameo. Ari's calling me. That is funny.
There we go. The other half of the Star Wars Exchange.
Right. And sorry, Ari, I cannot pick up right now. But
but he made it into the episode, technically.
He did make it into the episode, technically. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like, what a year for Clone Wars fans. Like, we just got Ventress and we got Barriss Offee back, and they appeared for the last time in the same episode 11 years ago, I think, or 12 years ago.
2013 was when it last aired. Yeah.
11 years ago. And look at them now. It just, look at us 11 years later. I mean, we just, when that episode ended, and that's why this thing is also special for us, because we were left after Ahsoka walked away from the Jedi Order. We're like, what happens to this show? We were left like months waiting, like, what happens to the show? What happens to Ahsoka? What happens to Barriss? What happens to Ventress? And well, it's just great that this year is the time for those answers.
Some closure and continuation.
Yes, exactly. So that's why we're hyped to talk about this. But I think Morgan Elsbeth looks great. I love that they're diving into this story. I think Morgan Elsbeth. Okay, so Barriss Offee is a safe choice in this. Yes. I think Morgan Elsbeth is the wild card. Like last year for Tales of the Jedi. Was it last year or the year before?
Tales of the Jedi was 2022, so year before. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Time is flying too fast, man. We gotta stop it.
I know. So for them, I thought Ahsoka was the obvious safe choice, and Dooku was like, okay, not specifically a crazy wild card, but he was the wild card. Like,
that's the more interesting character to talk about there, yeah.
And for this one, even though Morgan Elsbeth is kind of like the one coming out of left field, I gotta say, for me, obviously, I'm more excited about Barriss Offee, but I think this is great because it will get those people who have not watched the animated shows, like all the Mandalorian and Ahsoka fans, being like, oh wait, I want to learn more about Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth,
right?
And they'll watch something like this, and then they'll watch the Barriss Offee episodes and be like, wait, where is she coming from? And then they watch all of Clone Wars and then Bad Batch and then Rebels, and but I mean, this is just great. And again, seeing the Mandalorian village, the village from the Mandalorian in the Ahsoka episode in animation form, and I'm like, dude, the animation is just glorious. Like, I can't believe beautiful. It's gotten this good. I mean, take me back to season 1 of Clone Wars when it just got weird sometimes, and the animation was just very like amateurish and just getting there. And look at where we are now. Like, pretty intense. It's just pretty
Yeah.
intense.
I saw some people today posting, there's the one shot in the trailer where Morgan is presumably overlooking part of Dathomir after it's been destroyed, and the shot is like of her, like from her wrist down, her forearm down, like clenching the dirt and like rock
Oh yeah.
in her hand, and she lifts it up and then pounds it down, and you see like that sort of plume of like rocky dust kind of
Yeah.
shoot up as she does it, and people were like, at a glance, this looks like live action. And it just reminded me so much of like when some of the trailers for Avatar 2 were coming out and people were like, some of this looks like real, like indiscernibly real. And that, that's just a testament to, Lucasfilm's animations, like just mastery over this particular style they've cultivated. I know sometimes on the show, you guys, I think in the past, more so when you're talking about Bad Batch Season 2, you talked about, um, they should really move beyond the style. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think it would be healthy once like if the studio is able to explore different styles. But
Uh-huh.
while they're spending time in this style, they have reached a point where they are consistently wowing the audience visually,
Yes.
which is like just incredible. Like to be able to do that, they must be so proud of what they're doing, and
Yeah.
it's all really great.
Well said. I mean, it's so cool looking, and I mean, I used to get excited about seeing these characters animation characters jump into live action and seeing what they look
Oh
like.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
it's just so fascinating to see them come into animation and it's carry on that same voice actor. I think that's great.
absolutely. Diana Leona Santo as Morgan Elsbeth. Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out her that I just feel like it's just it's just so cool because it back in the day when animation for Star Wars, and I mean still now animation doesn't get the credit and the applause it deserves, but back in the day when Star Wars animation was just very much frowned upon and being like, "Oh, you watch the cartoons? Why?" And now it's just like, and before we were fighting for basically an entryway in conversations because I remember talking to Star Wars with people and then I would bring up Clone Wars and they would shut me out and just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm done listening to you.
It's
You
not on
watch
the
the
same
cartoons."
level. That's how people maybe
Right.
thought that at the time.
And now it's all on the same level, if not
Right,
animation.
absolutely.
And for many people like me, animation is up here and the movies are, down here.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, this is great. And as you said, this is a mesh of everything we've been seeing. So this feels like the remix.
absolutely.
This feels, hey,
Yeah.
all the characters in the toy box, let's get them out and play with them. And Tales of the Jedi was great. So I'm excited for these stories. So,
And I will
um,
say,
mhm.
like you mentioning how they haven't touched like Ventress and Barris in like 11 years, and now we're getting it. This period right now with the animation and really the show in general that we're about to get, these 6 shorts, it reminds me so much of what the speculation was when Clone Wars first ended, and they were working on a series set like during the time of the Empire. And at the
Mm,
time, everyone was like, well, it's clearly then a Clone Wars sequel show. And Rebels is a sequel to the Clone Wars in a lot of ways, but it's
right,
also its own thing. And
right,
that's what they make a point of that first before they make it a sequel to the Clone Wars. You get to those 14 episodes before they introduce Ahsoka.
right.
Um, uh, or however, is it 14 episodes in season 1? I can't ever remember.
I think it's 13.
It's 13 episodes before they get to Ahsoka. Anyway, not the semantics aside. Um, I remember seeing all this fan art of people being like, here's Barriss Offee as like a Sith Lord,
Mhm.
in the Clone Wars animation style, and here's Ventress like as an aged bounty hunter in the Clone Wars style, and
Yeah.
here's an older Greedo, and here's what Han probably looks like in this style, and here's Thrawn. Was a popular character, has always like arguably one of the before he became canon was always one of the most popular like Legends characters, or expanded universe characters. People were doing fan art of him in the style,
That's
and so
true.
something really hit me over the head like really hard in a satisfying way when I turned on the trailer and I saw Thrawn in the Clone Wars style because he
Yes.
looks fantastic.
Mhm.
Um, and it just feels right. It definitely feels like all of the threads are coming together. This
Yes.
character that was introduced in canon in a different animation style, made the jump to live action, is now in the other animation style. And you can say the same about so many of these characters now. I mean, Kanan, as well, was, got
Right.
put in Clone Wars animation style with Bad Batch after being in Rebels. And, well, he didn't
Chopper.
exactly make the jump to live action, but he's got a little photo of Freddie Prinze Jr. that people have been sharing around social media the
Oh,
last few
that's
days.
right. That's right. So yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, Chopper too. You're right. Yeah.
and thank you for bringing up about the Bears concept art too, because we all saw that. We all saw that same image of the fan concept art of Barris Offee and Inquisitor out in an Inquisitor outfit, or I mean, well, at the time it was Sith, right? Like,
And that speaks to how much people wanted to see it.
yeah, but and I love that we're finally seeing this story, and like, I'm
Absolutely.
glad it's. I'm glad it just fits so perfectly now because we're all like, oh yeah, she's turned to the dark side, and it's just crazy now that we have the Inquisitors around, and the
Right.
way she just fits so well into it. So which leads us to the conversation of Barris.
Yeah.
Ford's sister comes in and she tells her, Barris Offee, I basically have an offer for you and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like I have a proposition, and I'm just like, okay, we're getting somewhere, and or like an opportunity. And it's just so chilling when she walks in there. And obviously, the fourth sister, if you don't know, she was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi
That's
series.
what I thought. Okay. I was about to ask
And
you
I
about that.
was just
Yeah.
putting together an Amazon list, a wish list of just things that I'm planning on getting or getting now. She almost made it on there. But now after this trailer, she's going on the list. The Black
Oh,
Series.
oh, right.
I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Black Series. I
Yeah.
need it. So I'm like, okay, now I need it. But it was so chilling to see Barris Offee in that same outfit that Luminara Unduli has in the Rebels
Hmm.
hologram that we see of her. Well, actually, the hologram and when Kanan and Ezra enter that cell and she's in that prisoner outfit. I mean, that's just so chilling that she's in seeing her in the
Oh,
same
yeah.
outfit. I'm like
Yeah.
master and apprentice. But I mean, just great seeing Barris in there, and like this is where my audible gasps came in, because I was just like, this is insane. Like we finally get to see this, and I
Yeah.
mean, who knows how it's gonna go for Barris here, but I mean,
Right.
everyone speculated when Rebels season 2 when we were getting more batches of Inquisitors or a new batch of Inquisitors. People thought that the Seventh Sister was Barris Offee.
Right. I remember that. People were so adamant about the, like, sort of, where is Barris?
Right, right. So I mean, again, I just don't want to skim over the fact that, and I'm just gonna beat you over the head senseless about this. Barris Offee, we're getting Barris Offee, and
Yeah.
as an Inquisitor, I mean, if everything goes well, and I
Yeah.
mean, that opens up so many now stories to her. Will we see her in the next Jedi Order game? And if you like the Jedi Order games, this guy over here made a Jedi Survivor documentary, so you should go see it. Check it out.
Ooh. Yeah.
But I
You
mean,
pointed
this
in the
is
wrong direction. Who's the guy
oh,
over there? He made a Jedi? Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
actually,
I did one. Yeah.
one of them. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know,
And one of
but
these are pretty good.
but I mean, it's just great. So and it just this feels like a great time to tell it because we're all in this universe. Like when we watched the Dooku and or even the Dooku and Qui-Gon story, right? We
Yeah.
have to kind of change our mindset a little bit and be like, oh wait, this is before Phantom Menace. Okay, this is obviously before Phantom Menace. What was the
Hmm.
Jedi Order like? Okay, Clone Wars didn't exist, right? Even though it's the Clone Wars
Yeah.
animation, Clone Wars didn't exist. Like you just got to do little mental gymnastics for a little second to get
Right.
you up to speed and being like, oh wait, that era is not really well known, right? And I think
Hmm.
that's the best example from last year's or the year before's slate of episodes.
Tales of the
Now
Jedi.
this time it's like we're in this era already. We're reading about Inquisitors and the Del Rey novels, like Rise of the
Yep.
Red Blade, which is very good, by the way, which you should check out. I'm midway through the book, but it's very good. She does characters so well, and you're just in that mindset of the character. And I think there's like two sections of the book. First section is like the Clone Wars and the character as a Jedi,
Hmm.
because as we know, all Inquisitors were once Jedi before,
Right. Right.
and then the second half is the character's story with as an Inquisitor, which I haven't got
That's
into
cool.
yet, but
Yeah.
it's a cool concept. So you should check out Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah Dawson. But I mean, it's more. I mean, we just experience all these Inquisitors in the Obi-Wan series,
Hmm.
and all the Inquisitors in the Jedi games.
Right.
by
Yeah.
EA and Respawn, and more specifically, I mean, Bad Batch dealing with the dark
Yeah.
times and the Empire and the brutality. I mean, we just saw in this week's episode what they were doing with kids, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I just this is great to dive into. It's the right time. I mean, literally
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna finish Bad Batch and go right
Right.
into Tales of the Empire. But I'm like, this is a great time for this, to see something like
Yeah.
this. Because it's like, oh shoot, while we're with Captain Rex or with Hunter on a
Mhm.
mission or with Echo, this is going on. This literally could be happening on the other side of the galaxy, you
Right,
know?
right, yeah. It's that, and that's just one of the awesome things about like Star Wars storytelling is, and I guess a counter argument I would say to, because there's definitely an argument. You're talking about how right it is to flesh out this era and have different faces, sides of it as it's progressing. Um, there's definitely, I would say, an argument that it would be better for Star Wars to kind of
Mm.
um, touch on different eras, kind of get out of that between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope area, because we've tracked so many different stories through it. But what really makes this special, and what really makes this stand out, despite that, and where I think everyone is kind of on board with it, like despite those criticisms, is Barasafi, a character again, like everyone has been wanting to see, and a lot of people have gotten very quiet about last few years, because we've just kind of accepted, okay, don't expect to see her anytime soon because we haven't seen her in 11 years. Um, and then Morgan Elsbeth, which I think, I really like Morgan Elsbeth in The Mandalorian, and Diane Lena Santo does a great job. And of course in Ahsoka, where she's most prominent. But um, just some really cool stuff about the backstory here that I think is definitely worth circling back on, especially from the storytelling POV. Um, and heck, we might not even be just completely in the dark times, because I think there's some shots in this trailer of what I think is
Oh, right.
New Republic uniforms.
Hmm.
And that must be when she first arrives on that planet that I forgot the name of in Mandalorian. And there's the one shot there where the flames are shooting off behind her, and what I presume is the forest of that planet, while she's standing there. And all I could think was, she's going to do to this planet what Grievous and the Separatists did to Dathomir, and that's probably her arc here.
Oh.
And that's the tale. That's her tale. Is she, was victimized by this thing and is now going to create that destruction indiscriminately somewhere else. The making of a villain, essentially.
Hmm.
So I see that and I go, oh, that's a story worth telling, despite however many times we've gone through this era, that's worth telling. And Bearsoffy, I mean, we've gotten so many great Inquisitor stories, but I mean, and you guys have said this on the show before too. The Inquisitors are truly just one of the coolest parts of the Dark Times era, and
Right.
every story has done such a wonderful job, like fleshing them out, adding things to it. The book you've just described, Rise of the Red Blade, like doing even more with that. um Two parts of my brain will be very activated watching these Barris episodes, because on one side of it, I think there's so much awesome potential to explore Barris. To me, watching her in the trailer, she to me doesn't look she looks scared to me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like the Empire is kind of grooming her for a role that she might not be ready for. And so this could
Yes.
potentially be a story, or not want to do. This could potentially be a story about someone who, went down a dark path, but is already maybe reconciling with the consequences of going down that path, and you know, is now being put into a role that she doesn't want to do. And that could end very tragically for her, which would be um like really interesting to see. Or she will embrace it, and even then that will be tragic to see as well. So to me, again, another story that is so worth telling. And
Yes.
they've really, again, all the stuff they built out with the Inquisitors up to this point really allows that to happen. um yeah, there's going to be some cool stuff. And just Grand Inquisitor in Clone Wars animation, did not expect to ever see that. Maybe in Bad Batch at one point, but
Yeah.
it's probably too late for that to happen. So yeah, just such cool stuff going on. And I will say, the other part of my brain that's going to be very excited is uh looking for all those fun little connections to other stories. I'm gonna be on the lookout for Ninth Sister and
Yeah.
Second Sister from Fallen Order,
Hmm.
and maybe even Reva will be in there too. So that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I really hope we don't. Because we in the trailer we see the I don't think he was named, but well, besides, I don't know what his ranking is or what his brother name is or the number,
Marok?
but Merrick, yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Merrick, it's just so funny because we have the people like two Inquisitors there that were killed by Ahsoka.
Right.
Merrick, and then the next to him is what is presumed to be the sixth brother, but isn't
The one from
confirmed.
Tales of the Jedi?
Right.
Right.
The one
Yeah.
that was said from the novel, the Ahsoka novel, that was sixth brother, but it was
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Who knows what the title is? But we have those two
Yes.
guys that were eventually killed by Ahsoka, and I mean, it's just I'm just like, okay, like, oh, that's great to see that other guy,
Yeah.
and then seeing Merrick there, I'm like, okay, cool. This feels like a kind of all right, cool. But I'm looking forward to seeing, or I was just looking for seeing, some of the Inquisitors from the games or even the comics or
Right. Yeah.
even the ones from Rebels, or maybe even Seventh Sister, but
Absolutely.
maybe Barris is taking up that kind of animation, that that yellow skin complexity, and so is the fourth
Mm.
sister. It would be if we had another one there, it'd be like, what are these, like triplets or something? Like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just, I don't think it would flow well visually. So
There can only be one.
there could only be one. But or even I would have liked to see Iscat. I don't know what her title is. I think maybe ninth, no, ninth, not ninth sister, maybe seventh sister, a third sister. I don't know. But the one from the Rise of the Blade. I don't know her
Oh,
ranking
yeah.
yet
That'd be
or her
crazy.
title because I haven't gotten there yet. But
Yeah,
Iscat.
yeah.
I why couldn't we see her? So I hope that they're not showing us everything and that she pops up
Yeah.
or any of the. I would love to. I would kill to see Trilla, or
Oh,
even the Ninth
yes.
Sister.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
just borrow the models from Respawn or EA and just be like, yo, can we use that real quick and we'll trace it over with the animation and we got it. Just
Sure.
do that little thing.
Probably a
I don't
little
know
more
how.
complicated than
I
that,
know, yeah,
but I like
but
what your head's at.
yeah, I don't know how that
You're
works, but
right.
I'm sure
Let
they
us
can
use it
fix
as
it.
reference,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, this is just great, and we see Fortress. We'll tease that Fortress Inquisitorius,
Yeah, yeah.
and we see the Inquisitor shuttle that was introduced in Obi-Wan, in the Obi-Wan series, and just the Grand Inquisitor again looks so fire. Now, do we think that's Jason Isaacs or is that the Rupert Friend?
Hello, that guy.
I saw all
Hello.
over Twitter people being like,
He's
"Hello," I'm
back.
like, he's back.
Hello.
Yeah. So
I
what did you hear?
It doesn't sound like either of them to
It
me.
doesn't.
I feel like and if I had to say, if someone told me it is one of them, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
To me, from what I remember, it sounds more like Jason Isaacs,
Yeah.
and maybe he's doing a slightly younger voice or something.
Hmm.
But maybe they're just doing a different actor to make him sound younger or something.
Yeah.
And I think, no disrespect to Rupert Friend, I think the failure to adapt that character, or the difficulty of adapting that character, had nothing to do with him and everything to do with, like, the department, like the costuming, the makeup, and just, I think, the writing as well, and then also the casting. I think he was poorly cast for the role, but I don't think it's his fault that he approached the role he was set up to do a bad adaptation of the character. Um, that being said, I would be a little upset if it was him instead of Jason Isaacs.
Yes.
But it's it is what it is,
Right.
That they didn't do a thing where, and this is the one thing I'll say, just a little, like, segment, or a little tangent. There we go. Um I think it's interesting, Thrawn, like the way he looks. I noticed he he doesn't have, like, the sort of forehead eyebrow thing going on, like, right above me over here. See that? Like, it's a distinct part of how he kind of looks, like, sort of alien, and you can
Hmm.
see it on the cover for, like, the first book of his, Thrawn. Um, and the animated version of him they've done here for Clone Wars, he doesn't really have that, which reminded me of how he looked in Ahsoka, and
Yes.
that was a critique people had of his appearance there. So sometimes they do this in the animation where it's like, let's make a half step between the live action sort of look and the previous animated look. But Grand Inky, he looks just like the Rebels version in this style, so I'm happy about that. because it's a great design, and it was not improved upon whatsoever in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So
No, it was not. And I
yeah.
mean, it's just great seeing him Clone Wars style. Exactly. And to that point, and or I just want to mention about Jason Isaacs. I exactly agree with you. Could not
Mhm.
tell who it was. I could not tell who it was. But there's a moment where I'm like, okay, that sounds like Jason Isaacs. I don't know what he said specifically. I forgot what the
I
line was.
something did cross my mind as well hearing the trailer, where at one point I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but there was a line there that sounded exactly like Jason. I'm like, okay, but it just still sounded so different that I couldn't make it out. That it
Yeah.
could be either one of them. So I'm like, I don't know. But
You didn't
yeah,
get like the grandiose like
yes,
delivery that
yes,
at
and
all.
that
It was
could
a lot more like reserved.
yes, and that could
Yeah.
totally be the point that this is a younger Grand Inquisitor that we're running into and stuff,
Hmm.
and so totally get that. So also want to ask you real quick,
Yeah.
General Grievous. This leads into a little nerd talk.
Oh yeah.
This is what led last time about. It's not as big, but
Yeah.
it's still. And I will sound nitpicky as hell for even going here, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm just telling you this how much of a conservative I am when it comes to the Clone Wars. Like I'm just very like this is how it should be.
Yeah. 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 I'm the same way.
Grievous did not have a cape when he descended down onto Dathomir,
Oh,
and
interesting.
he has a cape here
Well, maybe he
now.
made a return visit and
Right.
he was a little colder when he came back, and so he put a cape on.
No, I maybe they were attempting to leave the planet, or maybe
Yeah.
he was like, wait, I have something else to do before I leave or
Yeah.
something. Because yeah, it doesn't
I
it
get
won't,
it. No, I get it.
you get
It
me.
was You had the same problem with Tales of the Jedi,
I did.
with certain parts, and you expect those details to, and for anyone listening, like the details matter because it's one story that they've emphasized that, and if you're not going to follow that, then shouldn't it be a different thing and not the same thing as the thing that this is calling back to, or referencing, or
Hmm.
part of the same day Grievous is on Dathomir. Um, and that Tales of the Jedi was sort of rife of those things, and it lends to the argument that this is an interpretation rather than like an interpretation of something that happened in the POV of the character rather than like the literal thing that happened. And
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that argument either, when it's like we're literally talking about small details. And maybe a better argument for the Ahsoka episode where she fights the Inquisitor, and very different version of the novel and what unfolds in that
Right.
little episode. But yeah, I mean, this is the same studio that in the Clone Wars made a point of Anakin and Grievous never ever meeting because of the one line in Revenge of the Sith of General Grievous, "You're shorter than I expected."
Right.
Um, so it is interesting for those who notice the details to be like, okay, why?
Exactly.
um,
Exactly. And
I will say that. Oh, actually, go first. Yeah.
well, I was gonna kind of add another critique, but you go ahead if you want to finish it off.
Well, I was gonna kind of go into your critique. Actually, I think that'd be better, and then I'll say what I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
So I just want to say here, like this is it's I love the new animation, and I love when we go
Mhm.
back and everything looks grand and everything, right? Like when we went back in time and the Obi-Wan and Anakin moment when they were watching Ahsoka train and all that, and you see Obi-Wan with a different cut and everything and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like that's cool. For me, like when we get to the Bad Batch opener and we see General, or even the Clone Wars finale, and we see General Grievous, like an updated model of him, like he looks like even
Oh
meaner
yeah.
and more evil, and it's like, oh my god, like that's crazy that they were getting here, because in season 6 of Clone Wars, there's on the Blu-ray, or one of the unfinished arcs, just to put it in general,
Yeah.
one of the unfinished arcs was the Utapau arc and
Right.
Utapau Crystal Crisis arc, and Grievous plays a prominent role in it, and you can tell all we got was the proxy animation, so that's just very unfinished animation. It's just kind of
Hmm.
like a placeholder, but we get to see Grievous in there, and he's sporting a new animation, like just
New
a
character
different
model.
model, yeah, a
Yeah.
new character model. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like I could totally see it canonically, like he's upgrading himself, or he just got a new build or whatever, so that's cool. And then just to go back in time, and that we're playing with this new character model, in this, and I'm just like, it breaks my little
I
kid,
get what
like,
you mean. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like I
And
said,
ultimately, it's something you can look past at the end of the day.
right, right.
It's just
Not
it definitely you think about it.
if I need to pick a gripe, it's stuff like that. That little
Right,
kid me would be like, "Wait, what?" But
right.
now it's, I mean, it's just like great. I'm just glad we're seeing that model in
Yeah,
great use. Obviously, you know, I'm glad.
absolutely.
I'm
Everyone was
glad we're
blown away when they saw it for like 2 seconds in, season 7 of the Clone Wars.
yeah,
So it's good
yeah,
that I mean, and, building a character model, like when you talk about the finances of these shows, like it takes time to build a new character model. Like that takes time. And they built the new Grievous from what it looks like the ground up. Obviously they had references from what they built before, and just the reference from how Grievous looks in general. But still, it takes time to build that whole guy out. And it's Grievous. He's he might as well be in like the Transformers franchise. Just look at him. Um but I said that just for you, Mike. I know you're a
thank you.
Transformers guy.
You tickled my fancy. Thank
There
you.
you go. But what I will say, as maybe not a counterpoint, but maybe like a devil's advocate, or like here's a positive. I think one of the criticisms of Grievous, and like I said, I'm with you about the Clone Wars. This is sacred text. Don't screw with it. All the episodes that people don't like or skip, don't skip it. In this household, we don't skip the run for the fruit while Cad Bane kidnaps C-3PO and R2-D2 is going to the spa.
We do
We
not.
don't skip that.
We don't skip that.
Um, I will say, like one of the criticisms of Grievous in the Clone Wars that I kind of find myself agreeing with is, um, he can be a little lame. You
Yeah.
know, I really like what season 1 does with him. I think that's Grievous's best in the show, and then maybe the next part that he's really good in the show is Massacre. Not just because he's being a badass, but because it shows that, like, you're reminded Grievous is not just a pushover. He's not. He's a coward, like that's for sure. But he's not a pushover.
Right.
Um, and the complexity they give him in season 1, where it's like he's a pawn of Dooku and that sort of thing, and that's a relationship that'll never change, is interesting. But ultimately, yeah, kind of sometimes after long stretches of Grievous not doing much in the show, can feel like a pushover. What say you? Um, in the little shots we see here, and obviously we're going to see more when it comes out. To me, Grievous looks scary. I think the redesign and how they've done that, how he looks intimidating, um, and like, yeah, as I said, scary, terrifying. It reminded me of how it felt seeing some of Grievous's like scenes in the micro series, the 2D micro
Mm,
series. And so for me, after years and years of not really getting any Grievous content, I look at this like, okay, this is giving something to Grievous fans everywhere because it's a moment from the CG show people remember pretty well, and is referenced, in Fallen Order and all that. So it's a pretty established moment in the series, and is something for Grievous fans who you know lament the like disappearance of this really badass cyborg general. And I feel like for the function of Morgan Elsbeth's story, what really matters most there is one day I was living a peaceful existence on Dathomir, and this messed up cyborg general came down and killed everyone. And that on its own, if you didn't know who he was, must be terrifying. And so I'm really excited to see that. And
right.
anything cape included that plays up that terror factor,
Yeah,
I'm a little part of me is very into. So,
for sure. No.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we should see him in all his glory in moments like that, and
yeah,
it could totally, like, I I it was so cutthroat when we meet, when Cal meets, why am I forgetting her name?
Marin,
Marin, right.
yeah,
So many Merricks and Marin and Marion.
yeah, it's a lot.
Marin, when he meets Marin, and she explains like, "Oh, someone, a monster brandished down, or, cut down my village brandishing one of
Yeah, a
these."
monster, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so it's like, oh my god, like, when she said it, you just visualize back. Like, you didn't even need to, like, they didn't even need to, but the way she said it, the dialogue, it just gave you all the description you needed. And it's like, oh my god, like, that's crazy. And I remember, like, my brother asking me, like, what was she referring to? And I was like, Massacre from Clone Wars. Like, oh yeah, when Grievous.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, this is great now. I mean, eventually, I mean, it was so sad watching the episode, and Ventress is like, crawling away, and she Mother Talzin appears to her for one last time, and she's like, "Where will I go? What will I do?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "You are the only survivor." You know, go be
What a
like
wild ripple effect that episode
it
has had,
is.
by the
It
way. It
has
created the destiny for 3 different, like, characters
yes,
that everyone really likes, you know?
right.
And
And
to that note, if you see Marin, I'll freak out. I'll
oh
freak
my
out.
god, that would be great. That would be a great
Yeah.
crossover. I mean, might as well we have everybody in
Yeah,
this
put
thing.
everyone in. Put everyone
But,
in.
you know,
Yeah.
so I mean, this is great. I mean, all the Dathomir stuff I'm very looking forward to, and just getting to see it in 20 what year are we in 2024 Clone
That's
Wars
correct, yeah.
animation. I'm so pumped. So I can't
Hell
wait
yeah.
for the story, all that. I'm excited for Morgan Elsbeth's story. And just to finish it off here, lastly, I love all the visuals in the Inquisitor Fortress Inquisitorius. Remind me so much of Fallen Order and all the little dojo rooms they had in there that you had
Yeah.
right before you fought Vader in the game. You had to like bypass all these purge troopers and everything, or pass through. And this, all the visuals in there, like the red and black visuals that we got, are just so symbolic. And I'm just like, oh, I just love that this feels very inspired by, you know, the tone of what this is gonna be.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's like this crazy test that was going on at the end where the Grand Inquisitor throws a lightsaber, and he's like, "You guys, must have one final test, and it'll be like to join us or whatever." And so it's Barriss fighting this other opponent with a lightsaber. Like one of them has it, and like I don't know. It just they were in like around a
Yeah.
ring of fire, which is so on the contrast of it, right? We have Ahsoka, who was in one of these type of stories, and she's over here like training against like these droids in a calm manner, and she's in a like a force field. And then to counter that, we have Barriss over here, her nemesis, I guess, her ex sister,
Yeah.
her ex BFF, fighting in this same ring, but it's red, and she's fighting against an opponent
Yeah,
to
true.
join forces with Darth Vader. I'm like, this is crazy. Like
Right.
this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think? What did you think of that ending? And same with the Grand Inquisitor. Obviously, Barriss makes it because we see her in the Inquisitor uniform, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
says it is time to meet your new master. And Vader strodes by, and we always knew with that Clone Wars finale when Vader comes by, we're like, oh, they're saving that animation for something. I mean, that character model, they did not just make it for that end
Right,
scene. We
yeah.
knew it, and that's why
Yeah.
I had a feeling. I don't think so now, but I had a feeling he would pop up in Bad Batch because they got that character model. It's like you bought a toy, like right when you're a kid, you bought
Yeah,
a new
yeah.
toy to add. It's like I'm gonna add him to the story. Hell yeah! So
It's the same thing I said earlier about, like, it costing money to create a new
right,
character model, and it's like, well, how expensive is it to just make that thing and use it once, like fire and forget? No, you're gonna
right,
use it again, and that's what they're
right,
doing, yeah.
right, and Vader here. I mean, he looks awesome. He looks
Yeah.
more threatening than ever. Like just scary vibes from him as always. I
Yeah.
mean, lately I've just ever since Rogue One, they've really made they've like had a turn on Vader. Like not that he was losing his scary, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
were learning more about the person behind his mask that you kind of like. So we're starting to disassociate or just starting to forget about
Yeah.
like how badass Vader can be. And then here comes
Yeah.
Rogue One, and then after that we get like these really cool comics with Vader in them where he is
Yeah, right,
scary and
absolutely.
threatening. And
Yeah.
then obviously we got the Jedi Fallen Order game, and then Vader in Rebels. And so yeah, I mean we just have
Yeah, yeah.
had a cool turnaround with Vader. And
Absolutely.
I mean here it just he looks like so threatening. So any prediction on where Barriss Offie's story ends? Will she end up trying to kill Vader or fighting
Yeah.
him? Will Vader kill Barriss? Will she make it out of Tales of the Empire? Tell
Right.
us.
I mean, I kinda, talked about where this could go earlier. I think if I'm to put money on any particular prediction, and I'm not setting my heart on this because I don't want to be disappointed by anything that unfolds. But I would think it would be really interesting if this is mainly a story between Grand Inquisitor and Barisafi, because here's the guy. It's not quite this dynamic, but you think about certain stories where a character is inspired by another character, and then that character lets them down, and that turns them into a villain. This is not that dynamic because
Right.
they're both already morally ambiguous, if not evil, in the sort of moral binary of Star Wars. Um, but I think it would be interesting if Grand Inquisitor, being the guy who was disillusioned by Barisafi, has decided he's giving his heart completely to this evil cause, is the one going, hey, I remember what you shook that Jedi nonsense out of me. Let me return the favor and give you a spot in this thing that's gonna work out, and we're gonna stop
Right.
this Jedi cause for good because that's what you're all about.
Right.
I think it would be so interesting if she's like reaches a point where she's like, I'm sorry, I don't think I can do this. Like, I can't bring myself to do this. And I think in the trailer there's a moment where at least Grand Inquisitor is fighting what looks like another Jedi out in the wild, and
Yes.
she's there too. So there's going to be some Jedi hunting. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting if it ended with Grand Inquisitor killing her, um,
Yeah.
because it would be like it would really seal his fate quite a lot. It would be like, yeah, it was the thing I described where it's like you inspired me to go down this path. What do you mean you don't want to go down it? And kills that thing, and that's got to really reflect on him in an interesting way. I think that
Yeah.
would be, but like I said, I don't want to attach myself to it, and I trust that they're telling the best story possible. Whoever wrote this, probably Dave Filoni.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, definitely. I think I feel like Barris is gonna have a turnaround from the way she went down and being like, "Whoa, yeah, exactly what you said. This is too far."
yeah,
And I one thing related but unrelated. What I want them to address is we learned in the Clone Wars finale that
hmm
all Force users are basically are to be killed by Order 66, or
yeah,
even like Darth Maul, they immediately like kill him. Um, what happens to, like, I just want to learn about it, like they
yeah,
were spared, right? Like we learned through information of books and stuff that they were that Palpatine had like a watch list that he kept, and was like, on his iPhone just keeping tabs on like, oh hey, like, Perks, we will, when the purge happens, like, don't kill him, we'll save him, we'll spare
right,
him and
yeah,
see if he
yeah.
wants to join us.
That's
He had a
interesting.
list like that going on, apparently canon. Dave Filoni doesn't really care about canon like that, but
He does and he doesn't
he
sometimes.
yeah.
Thrawn's wearing a different uniform per where he's at in like the timeline of the books, at least. So
Is he?
yeah,
Oh
it's not a
right.
white uniform. It's like a gray Imperial uniform. So that's got to be book accurate to this time, right? He doesn't become a Grand Admiral yet, does
I
he?
don't know what the insignia here represents. I don't know what the
Yeah, I
coding
can't
is
break it
for
down,
that.
but someone definitely could. But
But if Eli Mantel's with him,
yeah.
I'll scream. Uh,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I what I want them to answer is, how does that work? Like, why was
Yeah.
Ventress? I mean, I'm sorry, Asajj Bear Sophie. Sorry, I'm
Not
getting
her.
the other person involved. But I
My
want to.
my my awesome female Clone Wars character is mixed up. Yeah.
I mean, it just only happens, every 11 years. But
Yeah.
I really want them to answer that and be like, why was Bears spared? Was she on this list? I want,
Yeah.
but I really
Well,
think that
it seems like because well, yeah, no, you're right. I was about to say it's because she's a Republic prisoner, not a Jedi prisoner. But then like the clones keeping watch over her, do they not go, um, let's kill her? And maybe
right.
that answers a question of like because the Bad Batch has been doing a great job exploring how the brain chip has worked. Um, how do you distinguish a
Yes.
Jedi from a fallen Jedi in the mind of the clone when the chip is activated?
Right.
Potentially,
It would
I
be
mean, there's so much potential, but maybe that's not what they'll address at all.
maybe it's what maybe before she's killed, the clone troopers go in there and they're about to kill her, and then
Yeah,
someone stops her and be like, wait, this one needs to be waited on.
right,
She's
right.
not with the Jedi, or so. I would like if the story started off with Order 66 and we see Barris Offee's perspective
Yeah,
from all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah,
I
I guess
mean,
we'll see. Yeah,
nothing new there, seeing another Jedi's perspective of Order
absolutely not.
66,
Yeah.
but I think this would be the character to see that perspective of.
Right,
I'm really
right.
interested. I mean, if we're going all the way, just go all the way, right? If we're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
all this, just do it all the way. So I would
And if it
very
doesn't
much,
happen, then it was fun to think about it while
yeah.
talking to you, Mike. So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we were only supposed to be on here for like 30 minutes, but not even, maybe like 20. But when you put us in a corner and you
yeah,
talk about Clone Wars, we will talk your ear off.
I
So if
did this
you
to
ever,
myself. Yeah.
I did. If you ever see us at a Galaxy's Edge, or just me and Parks in a bar in Chicago, just come up to us and we'll chat about Clone Wars all night.
Yeah.
Or we will chat to you about Jedi Survivor, because Parks just released an amazing video commentary on the game. Parks, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, which goes kind of what we're talking about here with the Dark
Oh,
Times
sure.
era.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. Just to promote that real quick. Yeah, you guys, I mean, you watch this channel probably because you already watch my channel, or if you don't, like, I make Star Wars video essays, and video essays on a whole bunch of other things. But I did a video on Jedi Fallen Order about 4 or so years ago when the game came out, and I just finished a video talking about Jedi Survivor. So yeah, no, if you really enjoy that story and you enjoy this era, definitely check that out. I analyze everything, just about everything, going through the whole story and breaking it down and getting into characters and the dark side and Cal's journey. So if that sounds cool to you, check it out. Now
Yeah.
on our tour.
Now on art, and now you guys can find a link in the bio. I'll put it there, or at least Ari's gonna be working on post production, so I'll make sure he includes in there. I'll
Put
include
that boy to
myself.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that. Oh, but thank you guys for joining us talking about
Yeah.
Tales of the Empire. This is great. Like I said, this is so awesome. This is what me and the homies prayed for a long time ago in the galaxy
Right.
far, far
Right.
away. Like again, we're so like just throwing everything in Star Wars now. But like
Yeah.
before, when Clone Wars ended, me and Parks were there, like being like, "What happens next?" And we
Yeah.
waited a whole year to watch 13 episodes from the Clone Wars season 6, and they're like, "Yep, that's it. Moving on." And then a
Yeah.
whole year later, a year and a half, we waited for a teaser for the next series, and it was Star Wars Rebels, and it was like, okay, I'm not with this, but let's see what it's about. And we lived from show to show sometimes, or even like we had
You
gaps, right?
scraped by.
We
Yeah.
scraped. I mean, after Rebels ended, we had Star Wars Resistance for like 2 years,
Oh yeah.
and so I mean, and no shame to that show. Season 1 is really great. Like,
Yeah.
actually, check it out. But I mean, it's just great that we just get a whole bunch of Star
Yeah.
Wars
Yeah.
stories for everyone. And
We're
I
well
hate
taken
when
care of now.
we
Yeah.
are. And I hate it when people call it content, because I get it. Sometimes Star
Right.
Wars, Lucasfilm, they have a quota to meet of things they need to
Yeah.
release, but they don't do it in a way that's like some cheap off stuff. Like, they totally could, but this is something that they're putting all their talents to use and
Oh
to
yeah.
work, and we are so appreciative for that, for the writing,
Oh yeah.
animation, the music.
Oh yeah.
Bad Batch is a great season 3 is a great example of all those
Absolutely. Yeah.
juices being put to great work. So I mean, just kudos to them for telling stories that we want to see, and that I just love that the prequel generation now is just getting all these stories that we've
Oh
wanted
yeah. We're
for.
absolutely spoiled. Yeah.
We are spoiled, we're spoiled rotten. So
Yeah.
make sure to let us know what you think about Tales of the Empire. Are you looking forward to it? Is this a great idea? What do you think is going to happen? What happens with Barris? What happens with Morgan Elsbeth? Any theories you have? Anything that you noticed that we didn't talk about? Mention in the YouTube comments. Make sure to rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Like I said on the last podcast, which you should probably go check out, we're talking about Bad Batch, but I said, hey, like we got a lot of podcasts to do from now until the summer, or even through the summer, and we have a live in person one going up with Parks very soon. So we got to plan
Oh
that.
right. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be meeting each other very soon, so
True. True.
we're going
True.
to be doing stuff like that. So join us for the journey. Make sure to subscribe, all that, and yeah. Until next time, make sure to catch the Bad Batch weekly reviews, because Bad Batch 4 episodes left. We're going all in. Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure to do that. Parks, people can find you on
Instagram is Parks Harmon, Twitter at Parks Harmon, YouTube at Artur Presents. And just for me, because you mentioned what people should comment below, just for me, guys, what's a tale of the Empire you would like to see? I want to read those kinds of comments. But yeah,
right.
that's where you can
Ooh,
find me.
hey,
Yeah.
season 2, if that's still a thing, if that's a
Yeah.
thing, that would be something cool to
Yeah.
see.
We'll see. Yeah.
I'll probably copy my stuff too, because I have some ideas. All right.
There you go.
Catch me out _Star Wars. Until next time, may the force be with you. Adios.
Bye bye.